Hey everybody, Luke here, and welcome to the first review of 2021. 2021, God, 2020 went by so quick, I can't imagine why it was, but anyway, that's besides the point. Hope you all had a happy new year. I know I did, and yeah, we're on the week of not just the new chapter of Dr. Stone, we're on Stone Day. Yes, January 4th is Stone Day, which of course means it's this guy, Senku's birthday, so let's give him a round of applause here. Yeah, well done Senku for making it through another year. But not only that, it is my birthday on Thursday, January 7th. That is my birthday, so this will be the only review I'll be doing this week, and hope you guys enjoy it. I know this chapter I was really excited when I first read it and I got really giddy about it, so now we're going to be talking about it some more. But first things first, I want to just make a very brief message here, is that first of all, I apologise because I was meant to do this at the end of the last Dr. Stone video, but my top 5 Dr. Stone moments of 2020. So we're just going to go through those very quickly. So number 5 is when Senku entrusted the scientist to be Chrome, when he said, "It's up to you now, Dr. Chrome." Number 4 is when Senku is shot. Obviously, that's in part of number 5 here. Number 3 is the cocktails. Obviously, making the cocktails, which was really good, and that's going to be my New Year's resolution, to make Senku Cola itself. Don't know when that is. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to do it. But we'll see that. Number two and number 1, I kind of flipped back and forth on a little bit, but this is what I decided on: the Sino flashback, because we've got more insight into Sino's character, and actually, we're going to talk more in that in a few moments' time. But number 1, of course, is we are going to the moon. Obviously, that was a big, like, holy crap kind of moment when that actually happened at the beginning of the New American Sea arc. So those are my top 5 Dr. Stone moments of 2020. But for now, let's just get into chapter 180. Okay, so one thing I want to say as well before we actually get into the chapter is Party Jams, as you all know, guy that comments on all my Dr. Stone reviews, so big thanks to him. And we also talk on Discord, so come and join the Discord server of Control Chaos. That's all I can say to that. He said something on the Discord page that rereading Dr. Stone has given him a new perspective on the series, and this is something that he actually brought up, is the fact that in the first chapter, Donald Trump is actually petrified, is actually shown as one of the petrified victims at the time, and it gives more insight into Sinu's motivation and perspective and rejection of Senku's society to return the world to the way it was, because can you really blame him when you have someone like Trump in charge? And yeah, that just gives me newfound love for the series. And he says that sure, Sinu was in the wrong, but at least he had a grounded motive for this, because he was kind of right. There are some kind of dickheads in the world that really shouldn't be petrified. So it's kind of like a morality play here. Like, yes, they are human and they deserve to have their life, but at the same time, they're kind of dickheads, and yeah, the world would be a better place if they weren't petrified. But this is what my response to it was like, oh my god, this has just made me love the series even more. And it's alright to talk about politics in fiction if it's actually relevant to the actual story as well. And this part, it actually was, because it was explaining Sinu's motivation. So that's something I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to be talking about more of his thoughts on the chapter as well as we go through it as well. So for now, let's just get going on with chapter 180, which is titled Sicky Yet Beautiful. Now, this is a reference to the end of the chapter, which, oh my god, probably one of my favourite moments in Dr. Stone. And it's only the first chapter of the year. Alright, so the chapter starts off with the crew actually using the motorcycles to speed across a body of water to actually get into the Amazon rainforest. Now, I was going to comment that I'm not really sure about this, but then I remembered actually I have seen electrical scooters actually going through flood waters as well. So that's kind of something that made me think, like, actually I shouldn't actually bring this up. But anyway, they say it's the ultimate race across South America, and we arrived at the dense rainforest, of course. And Ryusui goes on to say, now that we've snuck into the Amazon rainforest, we've got nothing to fear from Stanley's fighter plane. But of course, Stanley being Stanley is like, sniping them from above the desert would be easy, would be the easy game. And now the Junior Cyber Brigade has got away, and that they have, and even though they have won the first half, it won't matter, because now that I know the exact now that I know the exact routes that they're going to escape from, I can actually figure out how to deal with them and actually get them in my trap. So I love like the military strategy that Stanley's making here, as his crew is like, this is good enough. Our real reason for flying after them was to track the bike tires, and those bike tires could have been another decoy. But that's why they could have purposely came at them so hard that to shake them so that they would make their escape at top speed and no detours. But Stanley's like thinking like, actually, if they're going into the Amazon rainforest, I know exactly where they're actually going to be exiting, and yeah, that'll make the perfect strategy, because I can just actually move to the exit, wait for them, play the long game, and be like, okay, there they are, and I can snipe them down. And they were saying that they think that Morse code is actually going to play a part here. Like, this was probably what Senior was actually saying to Stanley, like, okay, wait, we're going to Ground Zero, we're going to South America, so we're going to the Amazon rainforest, so wait for me at the exit of the Amazon rainforest, and that's when you can get me back. But one thing I want to bring up here as well is that Boichi clearly forgotten Stanley's mark on page 1, and he actually rectifies it on page 2 as well. But that's still something that I kind of noticed, and it's like, yeah, I feel like either he just simply ran out of time or he just forgot. But I think that's going to actually be corrected in the volumes as well. But continuing on, we have the crew who are saying that now that they've escaped Stanley, it's just top speed to get to that manor place where the petrification being started from, before Chelsea corrects them and say it's Manaus, which is the capital of the Amazonian rainforest. And Yukio brings up, you say hustle ahead, but keep in mind we're cutting across the Amazon rainforest. And Senku brings up that now that it's now a place that will be conquered by their own soft, fragile human bodies. We're 10 billion% sure to die because there are hellish bugs that could kill us, no problem. Basically, bugs that can leech onto you, plant eggs inside you and just eat you up from the inside out. And this completely freaks Suika out. And I love the fact, because this is actually a reference to earlier in the arc when they were like, yeah, in the Amazon rainforest there's going to be bugs that are going to kill you and die, and now they're bringing that back into the forefront. But of course, this being Senko and the fact that they actually have rubber, they've been able to craft these rubber boots that are handy for them to actually prevent their bodies and their legs from actually getting all these leeches and bugs actually on them at this point in time, as we see them cutting across on foot rather than using the motorcycle. So I guess some of them are actually just pushing the motorcycles along, which would make sense. I mean, they're not the most heavy objects at this point to actually push along, so they can easily do that. As we see Suika take part in the reconnaissance of actually getting food, and also Suika wearing the rubber boots. That's just adorable. And we see an epic battle between Tsukasa and a giant snake. And of course, this being Dr. Stone, Tsukasa wins, because he always wins against the giant animals. Now, this was something that Party John's brought up on the Discord, and it's that he felt that this chapter, it was too easy to get across the Amazon rainforest. But I actually had the rebuttal of like, well, they did have the rubber boots and they had Tsukasa on the side that could take care of the bigger animals, as being demonstrated before. Literally when he first reawoken from his stone statue, he punched out the 2 lions dead. So yeah, the bigger animals aren't going to be a problem for Tsukasa, but there is one other animal that probably will be. After battling the snake and killing it, and obviously killing some more animals, we see Francois cooking the snake meat, as Suiko questions what Dr. Senior is actually doing, and he brings up that he's using plants of the Apelaceae family, and what is that word? Artemisa genes to create an insect repellent mist, which makes sense because they're surrounded by a lot of bugs in the Amazon rainforest that could potentially kill them. So it's best to have as much resources as you can to keep them off your back. And Senior brings this up that the mosquitoes at the Amazon are particularly vicious. So if he is going to tag along, he obviously doesn't want to get bitten by these and die. And this is something that I really love, as it shows that Xenu is not actually a one-trick pony, as you normally, like, you'll normally have someone who's like, okay, I'm only good in this field and nothing else. But it's nice to see that Xenu has actually dabbled in a couple of things, and this is what Pi John's brought up, is that his headcanon is that he learned other fields of science in order to teach Senku, because an aerospace engineer, he really didn't know that knowledge, but as a science teacher to probably a child he would, which does make sense. But it's still nice that the authors actually included those little touches to show just how versatile the characters are, and also just the fact that we're actually getting some interaction between Xenu and Suika, which is something that we haven't had before, and it's nice to see different characters bouncing off of each other that you otherwise wouldn't normally see. So this is a perfect example of this, and maybe Suika can actually take a few notices of this. It actually further develops into the future. Now, the thing with Suika as well is that Party Jams actually brought up the fact in regards to her age, and I thought, like, and I was thinking, like, at the beginning, like, yeah, this is kind of strange how she hasn't really grown that much. But then I thought back to some of my friends in university that were basically 18, 19, but basically looks as if they were like in their, looks as though if they were like just turning 13. And even I was at that time, like when I was Suika's age, at the beginning of Series 9, and then when I turned 13, I basically looked exactly the same as I did when I was 9 years old. So it's not uncommon to have people like that basically keep their youthful appearance. And I mean, he brought this up with the fact that I'm an adult at this point, but I haven't changed much in the last like 10 years. I'm still look as if I'm 19 years old, even though in about 3 days time I'm going to be 30 years old, but I'd still look about 20 years old. But even so, it's not uncommon to have people who look younger than they actually are, and have people like, oh, you haven't changed at all, that kind of thing. So that's why it didn't really bother me as much as it probably bothered him. Anyway, as Senku over here is seen talking about the Book of Repentance Way, he brings up a pop quiz question like, who is the strongest living thing in the Amazon rainforest, and Taiju immediately goes, oh, it's obviously Tsukasa because of the way he handled that snake. And Kurako, for once, actually agrees with Taiju, which, wow, that's probably the first time Kurako's actually agreed with a dunderhead like Taiju, but can you really blame him? I mean, we've seen Tsukasa beat up lions, and basically he's basically, his epithet is the strongest high school primate. So obviously Taiju's going to be like, oh yeah, it's obviously Tsukasa here. But Tsukasa brings up that even him, with all his strength and might, wouldn't be able to stand a chance against the king of the Amazon rainforest and the world's mightiest creature. As we see a tiny little ant, which Luna identifies as army ants, and Gen brings up, I believe I saw a documentary about them once. Army ants in giant swarms, reducing even beasts to nothing but bone. Now, okay, this is something I have to bring up here. There's whatever documentary Gen actually watched, it was probably something along these lines. Okay, in the early 2000s, there was like a documentary series called Walking With, which basically went through history of prehistoric and long since forgotten animals, and there was one series called Walking with Beasts, which obviously dealt with what came after the dinosaurs and in the realm of mammoths, saber-toothed cats, smilodons, all those ones. Now, one of those beasts which were in the first episode was the army ant, or it was giant carnivorous ants as they called it, which basically did the exact same thing here. Where what are basically like an ancestor of the army ants, like stripping basically bigger animals to the bone. And even if you're in your sleep, it's not you're the most defenseless at that point as well. But Gen probably saw a documentary similar to that, or he probably saw a really old, awful movie called Marabunta Legion of Fire, or Legion of Fire Marabunta. It's on YouTube. Anyone can go and check it out. I'll put a link to the first part in the description. But basically, army ants from South America were brought into Alaska. Had an itch by my ear. Were brought into basically the Alaskan landscape via crates or something. It was something. It was like a crate that had gotten in, and yeah, that movie basically had the Marabunta or the army ants just basically because Marabunta is another name for army ants. Basically, they're basically just saying Legion of Fire army ants, killer ants. That's basically what it is. But yeah, it's just a basic monster movie about Marabunta army ants just coming in and killing people, and the people having to stop them, and then the ants surviving at the end, but very few of them. It's played by god-awful acting, abysmal dialogue, and terrible CGI on the ants. Like, the CGI on the ants is awful in that film. Like, you just gotta go and watch it yourself. But it's one of those films that you're just sitting there like, how bad is this gonna get? But yeah, it's played by all of them. But I could just now I've just got this mental image in my head of Gen actually watching that movie on YouTube, because it's been on YouTube for quite a number of years, pretty much even before the whole petrification beam, so he probably caught a glimpse of it at some point. But anyway, one other thing I want to say is that I just got this mental image as well of Tsukasa wearing those rubber boots as well, because everyone's wearing them in the group. That's pretty much established, like everyone's got to wear these. So I've just got this mental image of Tsukasa, the strongest primate, wearing those rubber boots, and how hilarious that image would possibly be. Oh, just something else that I brought up topic, that is a bit off topic here. Me and Party Jones basically brought up the fact that the 2 Russian astronauts that were with Byakuya's group basically left for the mainland, left Byakuya in charge of their kids, and they never returned, and they were presumed dead. Now, I came up with the idea of, like, since their fates were left unknown, like, we didn't actually know what happened to them and they were presumed dead, that they're going to turn up and they actually use some of the revival fluid to actually, from the Cave of Miracles at the time, to actually revive some people, but they never returned, and they couldn't find a way to get back to Treasure Island at the time. That because it was definitely their fake on purpose, and we're probably gonna get more of that in the future of the series. But yeah, just rereading the series and get these ideas in your head kind of like makes my love for the series escalate even more, because you're just rereading and just thinking of these ideas of what could potentially happen in the future because of things that were left open-ended, basically. But anyway, back to the review. Whilst Gen is actually freaking out about the army ants, you see Chelsea and Senku just getting mega excited as Chelsea uses a little trap to catch the army ants like it was nothing, and using them just like Haspisi or snake wine. They're going to turn the army ants extracts into a boozy cocktail, as Taiju is just drooling over it. It's like, yeah, that smells like my dish. And then Chelsea brings up the fact that they're going to extract the extract does have an odor like soup substance, and Senku gets mega giddy and it's like, and now with this now we'll take this almighty extract, and as everyone's freaking out because they think that they're actually going to have to drink it, and they're like, no, please no. But Senku says, no, we're just going to splash it on ourselves so that we have other predators in the actual Amazon rainforest basically stay away from us, because we're going to have the scent of the army ants on us, and if they smell the scent and get a whiff of the idea, they're just going to leg it away from them. And Ryusui's like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good plan here, as Chelsea says something very suspicious here, that she learned this bit of wisdom from the locals way back then, as Gen brings up, you have quite the history of field work, dear Chelsea. How fantastical. Now, Party Jams thinks like, yeah, it seems pretty strange how she, of all people, knows about the locals here. That's pretty strange in of itself. Yeah, we're still on to you, Chelsea, so don't Gen, keep an eye on her again. If you get separated with her, keep an eye on her. But anyway, continuing on, we have Chrome just basically saying, I was sure we were going to drink it, as Yuko was like, yeah, that was definitely a possible way, and we have Luna just fainting. Just basically anything that Luna does at this point is just hilarious. So once they've actually got the insect repellent spray on them, they make their way down the Amazon rainforest by river rafts, by actually making some makeshift river rafts and getting the motorcycles on there as well. So there's more than actually 6 river rafts at this point in time, as Ryusui goes on to say, for this last leg, we'll ride the river downstream straight to Ground Zero to Manos, and Taiji brings up, and that's where it was right, the original device that turned everyone to stone. So we're finally gonna figure out what Ground Zero actually is, and that just makes me more excited. Okay, slight tangent here. This chapter, Brendan My Hero chapter, because for obvious reasons, Tyler Pancake read the chapter. He's more of a My Hero fan than me, and even he despised that chapter to the brink. You should have listened to his rant on Discord, and I wish I had saved it. But anyway, just for the excitement factor of the fact that we're actually going to see what Ground Zero actually looks like, and it was not at all what I was expecting. I don't think anyone was expecting what we got at the end of this chapter. But Kuroko goes on to say, after this grand adventure around the Earth, we better not be sent home empty-handed. Which, even if he's sent home empty-handed, Kuroko, you're still gonna have some amazing stories to tell. That's gonna be worth something in of itself. But she continues on and says, "We can only hope the treasure we're after is really there." Before Gen brings up by saying, "Searching for it could require terribly hellish labour, especially given how tiny the Medusas are." Yeah, well, since you've got a tiny kid on your side, it probably wouldn't be as bad as you're probably thinking it's going to be, Gen. So as they're making their way down the Amazon rainforest, Kazuki asks Chrome what he's working on, as he brings up the fact that he's working on a way to automatically shoot a puff of the ant extract into the air at a set time, and thinking about it calling an automatic set timer, just like the Medusa light was. And this just gets a light bulb going off in his head, as he's like saying, he's got a bad flash of inspiration about a machine to guard against the petrification beam, as he brings up Senku using the fluid device, the revival fluid back on Treasure Island to hit him, and basically refers to the process after he started turning into stone. And he's thinking like, we could rig that to happen on its own, like a constant time drip. But Senku probably already thought of this idea. But it's very great that Chrome was able to just come up with this idea completely on his own without any help from Senku, showing again just how much he's probably going to surpass Senku in the end, basically. But Senku was probably well aware of this, and he says, "For a second, pretend that you're the Y-Man. How would you account for sneaky tricks like that? Or what if the device was somehow a dud? How would you make certain that all of humanity got whelmed?" And this is when Chrome and probably everyone just gets an idea in their head, as Sukasa's the one to say, with a multi-stage attack via multiple firings of the petrification beam, as Gen realises that, given the fact that this happened thousands of years ago, could it be perhaps that there was more than one Medusa at the expedition where it all began? Okay. I know I'm getting ahead of myself there, but keep that line in mind about more than one Medusa, because this is something I'm going to bring up at the end of the chapter. But anyway, continuing on, Senku says he wonders, but soon enough, at long last, we'll get to inspect the scene of the crime for ourselves. Get excited as we cut back to Cornsey briefly, as we see Joel working on the Medusa and Nikki looking at a calendar which reads January AD 5742. So it's amazing that 4 years have passed since the beginning of the series at this point, but it just seems like it's all come very natural, that we're getting the very natural points where we're actually seeing what needs to be seen, and we're not seeing the whole year, because God, that would take forever to get through. It would be One Piece length, which, by the way, congratulations One Piece, making it to 1,000 chapters. Big milestone, and pretty soon Dr. Stone will be hitting a milestone, 200 chapters, because at this point, next chapter, in the next few chapters, we'll be passing not just Promised Neverland in terms of them, but We Never Learn, and I am mega excited about that. Also, another side note, I'm still going to be doing the We Never Learn retrospective at some point, but like I said, I'm only doing this video this week because it's my birthday week, and I want to kind of leave that open for me to do stuff that I want to do, given it's not just one birth, it's not just a particular birth, it's not just a standard birthday week, it's a big milestone for me, my 30th birthday week. So 30 years old, another decade completed. But anyway, continuing on, they go on to say that they're getting pretty close now, as it's been 4 months since leaving Japan to reach the other side of the planet. Thousands of years ago, the ominous light that petrified everyone came from here. this is ground zero. Now keep that in mind as we get them going. If Rayman was really so maliciously hellbent on destroying humanity to the point that he threw multiple Medusas at the problem, but before Kohaku can actually finish that statement, we see Suika actually finding one of the Medusas themselves, as Chrome saying, "Well, just like that, that's bad, Suika. How lucky are we her?" Yeah. Pretty lucky compared to what Senku is, because Senku is known for being just extremely unlucky at points. But anyway, Kohaku brings up the fact that she doesn't think it had to do with luck, with luck, as she says, luck, as we get a gorgeous page spread of just this massive pyramid of Medusas. I repeat, Ground Zero was this massive pyramid of Medusas as we get the end of the chapter, which is, it's so sicky yet beautiful with malice, and that's where the chapter ends. Fucking hell, I love this series so much. That was something I did not expect coming, like a pyramid, volcano, whatever that is, of Medusas. Oh my god. Okay. Now, going back to what I was saying at the earlier in the chat about Gen mentioned that there was that there could have been multiple attacks from the petrification beam. Now, my theory is something else entirely. Like, yes, there was an attack from this particular Ground Zero, but what if there are other pyramids like this scattered throughout the world, and all of them activated at the same time to create this just like gigantic explosion of the 12,800,000 diameter of the Earth, or maybe this is just basically the one Ground Zero, and you had to get all those petrification beams in one cluster, and you can only do it one time, because I don't think one Medusa would have the full range capacity to annihilate the planet. So it could be one of two things. It could be like this whole mountain, all of them are duds now. They're out of battery because they were all used at the exact same time to petrify the Earth. Or there's multiple petrification pyramids around the planet, possibly at the locations that they actually have to go to actually petrify the entire planet at this point. But that's something that I'm really looking forward to really actually figuring out, because again, the Y-Man, when Matsukaze was revived, basically said, these petrification devices scattered from the sky, but they obviously destroyed the ones that were on Shrine. But who's to say that there are more out there just scattered around the world, and they actually have to go and collect them all together? So yeah, that's just something that that's something that really got me excited, really got me thinking, and really made me just appreciate this chapter even more. So really good chapter to start the year, best chapter of the week. If it wasn't Mission Yotsuko Family came this close to being it, but just that last panel and just like the ramifications and the possibilities are endless about what this could actually mean right now, this pyramid of petrification weapons, and whether the Y-Man is is like an AI computer laptop on the moon, or it's just a humanoid on the moon that's got a bionic body. We'll just have to wait and see. Those are my two theories of what the Y-Man actually is. It's like, if anyone's played Danganronpa, there's one character that basically has an AI of themselves in a laptop after they die, and that's probably what has actually happened with Dr. Stone, with the Y-Man. Like, it's an AI connected to this computer on the moon itself, or it's a humanoid that's got a bionic body to make themselves basically immortal, basically. So that's basically my idea of it. But my god, what a chapter to start of the year. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this week, Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.